Helen basically, she realised herself that she wasn't just right. You know, she was getting frightened to drive and things like that. She was losing her confidence a wee bit. Went to the doctor, went in together, and they were treating her for depression. Then she told us the bombshell. I mean, it hits you like, oh, really, that's frightening the way it hits you.
I remember it hasn't been all that good for many, many years, but I never put it down to having dementia or anything like that. You know.
Well, I was a wee bit shocked, I would say. You know, I didn't think I had anything like that.
My husband was diagnosed 4 months ago. We were left high and dry.
I didn't know what dementia meant, and when I was diagnosed, I was as frightened as MD.
I was kind of left in the lurch, really. I didn't know what Alzheimer's disease was. It was just, to me, it was a death sentence.
She was told that she had dementia and said, again, we'll see you in 6 months. It wasn't until we got in touch with a social worker who actually put us in touch with Tracy and Michelle that things started moving.
I felt Alzheimer's, well, not MD no or anything like that. You're on your own. Where do I go? What's I know? Want to know anything or anything like that? These girls have changed my life.
We provide information and support to people who've recently had a diagnosis of dementia in an early stage. So we have a range of different types of support depending on what people need and what they want. We can help with practical things like making sure people have got the right benefits that they're entitled to, helping them put powers of attorney in place for the future. We provide opportunities for peer support through our regular cafes, drop-in cafes, and we also provide more structured support in small groups through our workshops.
We both noticed that the overwhelming thing is people feeling that they're not alone. After diagnosis, people feel devastated and like their quality of life is ended, and for some people they feel like their life is coming to an end. So to be able to meet other people in a similar situation to themselves and to see that you can continue to have a good quality of life is incredibly important to them.
Normally what would have happened in the past would people would get their diagnosis, but the supports would not really come into play until they're maybe struggling, they've hit a crisis point. So I think everybody that works in the field and the government thought if we can actually help people earlier on and provide them with information and support, that they can think about what supports they might need in the future, then that hopefully will keep people well for longer, promote independence, help people to feel more in control.
This group is special. It's entertaining and it keeps your mind off of what is actually up, what's wrong with you.
It's been so good to see my dad, who when he was first diagnosed thought, this is my life, it's over, I'm 58 years old and I've got nothing to live for. To now come 6 months later and think, for him to realise it's the start of a new stage of my life, it's not over.
They just give us so much hope and inspiration because, you know, the diagnosis is 10 years, 11 years down the line for some of these people, and they're just so inspirational.
That's a good word.
I know.
We've had maybe a very small number of people who've come to the project for something very specific, maybe to do with powers of attorney, and they haven't wanted any more support because they feel life's fine and they're getting on fine. But for the vast majority of people, they've wanted to have some ongoing contact.
Anything you want to know and any help you need are there, you know.
This is a good place to come because it's full of positivity and it gives you hope for the future.
And many people have talked about that they feel more hopeful by the end of the workshops and after meeting people in the cafes. And I suppose through the cafes and meeting others, they're very much challenged over their stereotyped ideas of dementia, So that all links up to the diagnosis and their fears and their worries about what the future is going to be for them and how they're going to be in a short period of time, whereas they come along to the cafes and meet people just like themselves who are going about their average everyday lives, and I think the hope that gives them is quite phenomenal.
My problem was I wrapped hell up in cotton wool, you know, and I'll do everything. But I realise folk can have a life, so we've kind of stretched it, and I've later had a wee walk about ourselves, walk to the shop, down to the garage, things like that, you know, and we just got on with life.
You don't want to think of them not being able to cope with all the things that they normally did, because if anything, Jim would have been the one that he did this and he did that, didn't you? You really did everything, so now the tables have turned a wee bit.
I found my resignation.
I'm telling you, I enjoy it probably better than what Netta does now, you know. Just to meet people, listen to what they've went through, you know, it's really good. Yeah.
Sometimes we feel like the support that we're offering people isn't that big, but what that means to people seems to be really significant.
My mum received great support from Michelle and Tracy before she passed away last May. They just gave so much support to myself. It didn't even need to be anything that I can say concrete. It was just, I could phone up and say, oh, this has happened, that's happened, right, we'll go down and see your mum. And they were there for her. And my mum was happy when she saw them. She maybe couldn't remember their names, but she recognised their faces. And yeah, they gave her life back, really.
I think this should be a set standard across the board. It brings social work services together with people and carers who are really needing that support.
I suppose one of the things the project gives people is that link to social work, to the formal services. We can introduce, as we have done today and we have done on other occasions, a social worker we know to come in and explain a bit more about the role, so that people already have an idea in their mind of what they might need in the future, which will make it much easier for them to access it when it's needed.
Didn't know of groups like this, you know. We're here to help people, and I couldn't praise them high enough.
I realise that there is things that I can be thinking about, and I'm thinking like taking holidays and doing things and getting out and about.
It's always nice to know that somebody else is going through what you've been going through and having the same emotions, the same fears, having the same experience that I've had, to somebody else is there to relate to you and give you advice.
For my mum, it was good. She's been diagnosed for 3 years now, but before she came here, she didn't really talk very much outside of the house. Whereas I feel this has brought her out of her shell. She speaks to people, she remembers people's names, she'll mention them. She'll say, we're going there to see this person, where she didn't do that before.
And sometimes I forget.
So do we all.
They've done a great job, and they've made us aware, as other folk, how much you can do, and there's nothing to stop you from doing anything. The potential there to do your own things, it's up to yourself.